Hi everyone, my name is Ditesh and today we'll discuss few topics which are very closely related to Power BI data modeling. We will discuss how to create relationships in Power BI, cardinality, and cross-filter direction. With the help of few examples, let's quickly go through all these topics. Here is the PBX file, and before we start, let's make sure we have enabled the auto detect relationship under the settings. Click on File. Under the Options and Settings, we have Options, Data Source Settings. So click on Options, and under the Options, it will take a while. So it will open up a new window. So as you can see here, under the current file data load, we have the option Relationships, and then you need to make sure you have checked this box, Auto Detect New Relationships after data is loaded. So if we haven't enabled this, please make sure you have enabled this, and then click on OK. So now let's start with our first example. Before we load our data into PBX file, let's have a quick glance into our dataset so that it helps us to understand what is cardinality. We'll be using two datasets, that is company project priority and project budget. And we'll build a relationship between these two datasets. So the first dataset, that is company project priority, as you can see here, we have all unique values. So each element is unique. And we'll be using this column to create a relationship between the other table, that is project budget. And if you notice here, again, this particular column is all unique. So let's see what is the default behavior of Power BI when we load this data into our model. Let's go to PBX file and load this data. Let's import the first data set for our example. Click on Excel workbook and then pick the file, click open. And this should take a while. And once it is open, let's select the required tables. So I need the project budget and then company project priority. And if you notice here, we don't have the correct header. So I'll click on transform and this will open up a new window. So we have the query editor open, and then here, let's change the title. So what I'll do is click on use first row as a header. And now we have the correct titles, and then click on close and apply. The loading is complete. And if you notice here, there is no relationship between these two tables. So now as a next step, we can either create this by dragging and dropping it, the required columns or the fields, or we can select manage relationships here. So I'll click on the manage relationship, and then first let's see if Power BI can auto detect the relationship. If not, then we will edit it manually. Click on auto detect, and it says found no new relationships. So what I'll do is click on new, and then select the first table, and I need the relationship between these two tables using the project name and the approved project. So we have, and if you notice here, this is the default cardinality, 1 to 1, 1 to 1. This is happening because if you remember in the Excel file, we saw that each values or elements are unique, and that's why it's written as 1 to 1. And let's see what happens if we don't change this at a later stage. So I'm not going to change anything and click on OK. So this is one way to build a relationship between the two tables, and then click on close. So now you should be able to see the relationship between these two tables. This is one way to do. If not, if you don't want to do this way, what you can do is simply delete this relationship, delete, and I'll show you the other way. So it'll take a while. So now what I'm going to do is drag and drop between project name and approved projects. So again, it'll create a relationship. So this is one of the ways to do. Yeah, it's already there. And then if you see the properties will still remain the same. It's the Power BI default. So now, so we have created the one-to-one relationship. To reiterate what we just discussed, let's go to the properties and then look at the cardinality and the direction. So if you notice here, the cardinality is 1 to 1. This is because we have unique values in each of these tables. So between this table and this table, all the values are unique. And that's why it's creating a relationship of cardinality 1 to 1. And if you notice here, the cross filter direction is both. So what does it mean? So if I go back to the relationship here, you can see these little arrows here. So it's pointed to the left and the right, right? So basically what it means is you can filter the first table using the second table or the vice versa. So you can select something from this table priority so that it gets filtered, it cross filters the second table, or you can select something from this table so that it cross filters the other table. So let's check it out. So what I'll do is I'll go to the report view and then let's try to create some tables and see how does this cross filtering works. I will insert two tables into this report so that it's easy to understand how does a cardinality or cross filter function. So this is the first table, and then let me add one more table here. So let me bring this side by side. With the help of this table, let's try to understand the cross filtering direction. So in the first table, I will add this priority, so priority, and then project name. So we have the values, and in the second table, I will get all the fields from the project budget. So I'll bring this here. So I don't need the hierarchy. And then I'll bring the approved projects and budget allocation. Okay, so we have both the tables side by side. And if you remember, so the cross filter direction, it was both, right? So basically it's showing to the left and the right. So now basically what does it mean? So if I select any value from the first table, it will cross filter the second table. So let's check it out. So I'll select blue. And if you notice here, it's cross filtering the second table. And then if I select green, again, it will cross filter the second table. And let me try with the red. So it's filtering the second table. And if you have any null values, example, we have orange in this table, but it doesn't have any values for orange. So what does it happen? So if I select orange, again, it's cross filtered, but it was not able to find relevant values. So you're getting null values. So we can do the same thing with this table. So if I select blue from this table, it will cross filter the first table. Let's check it out. So we have the blue. Same thing goes with the green and red. So this is how the cross filtering direction works. So it depends on the kind of calculation you need to decide which direction, cross filter direction you need to apply. Having said that, now let's do some modifications to our data and then see what happens if you add some duplicate values into the project budget table. Here is the Excel file, and now I'm going to insert two new records into this table, project budget, and then we'll save it and then go back to the Power BI report and then refresh the file and see what will be the result. Let's do that now. I will save this file, and then now let's go back to the Power BI. So here is the PBX file. And now if you remember, so initially the cardinality was 1 to 1 because we had unique values. So now we modified the data and so the cardinality should be 1 to many. But however, we haven't changed this file yet. So now let's refresh the PBX file and see if Power BI throws any error. And if it throws an error, how do we fix it? Let's check it out. So I'm going to click on refresh and it should take a while to refresh. So it's loading and see. And if you see here, now it's throwing an error. So what does the error says? Approved projects in table contains a duplicate value blue. And this is not allowed for columns on the one side of many to one relationship for the columns that are used as the primary key of a table. So it's throwing an error because it was not able to load because the default relationship was 1 to 1. So how do we fix it? I'll click on edit properties. And then I'll change the cardinality to one to many because we know the table which has project budget has two more entries and it's no more unique. And now click on OK. And now just give it a couple of seconds. Yeah. So now you can see the cardinality has changed to one to many and still the cross filter direction is both. So it should not be a problem now. So I'll click on refresh. So basically we have overridden the default one-to-one relationship and then change this to one to many. And now if I go back to the report and do the same selection which we just made a couple of minutes back, we should be able to see the same behavior. So now if you see here, it's cross-filtering the other table. So it's still fine. And you can see the new record which we just added here. So this is how we need to fix whenever there is a error, especially related to cardinality. So now let's try one more example. So it's a little complex. So let's go back to the Excel and review our data set and then try to do the same thing for our third example. Here is the data for our third example. It's always good to understand what is the data we are using before we start to build any model. So as you can see here, as the name suggests, it's project hours. So we have, it's more of like a fact table. So we have details like ticket number, open by, submitted by, hours, project name, and when it was submitted, that is date. And then if I go to the other table, that is company employee, it has the name of the employee, tenure with the company, and the city of residence. And then the third tab, that is company project, it has the project name and the priority. So now let's go to PBX file and then load this data and build the relationship between these tables. Here is the PBX file and I have already loaded three tables. And now if I go to the model here, you should be able to see three tables: company employee, project has, and company project. So I'll build the relationship between company employee and project has. So I'll select employee from this table and drag and drop it to the submitted by. And Power BI will create the default relationship, that is one to many. It's creating default relationship one to many because the employee name in this table is unique. However, in this table submitted by, the employee name is repeated several times. The cardinality is one to many. And if you notice here, the cross filter direction is single. So if you select something from company employee table, it will filter only the project hours table. So now let's build the relationship between company project and project hours. So I'll drag and drop project name to the project. So again, it will create a one-to-many relationship because the project name is unique in this table. That is only a single entry for each values. And here the project, it's repeated several times. That's why it's creating a one-to-many. And if you see the cross filter direction, it is single because if you select something from this table, it will only filter this table. It will not filter the company employee table. So let's see the behavior using some example. So I'll go back to the report here and then I will create one table to the center. And then in this table, let's bring some fields from this table. So I'll bring submitted by, and then let's also bring project and number of hours. So we have these elements. And now I'll add one slicer. In this slicer, I will bring employee details like employee name. Okay, so I think this should be fine. And then I'll add one more slicer here. Let me bring it to the right. And then I will bring the project name here. Okay. So now if you see the default behavior, so if I select something, let's say Alan, so it's filtering the fact table. If I select something from project name, again, it's filtering the fact table, that is project task table. And now let me add few more things. So let me add a table here. And what I'll do is I will bring in for more details related to employee. So I'll bring in employee name, tenure. Okay, I think we should be fine. And I will add one more table or a matrix. So let me change this to a table and then add project name and priority. And if you notice here, if I select something from Alan, so the fact table is getting filtered, but the other table is, it doesn't have any effect or impact on the third table. Same goes with this. If I select something here, it will not have any impact on this table because the cross filter direction is set to single. So now observe what happens when I change the cross filter direction. I'll go back here and then change the cross filter direction to both. Now, if I select something from this table, that is company employee, so the cross filtering will flow to the project task, and then it doesn't go back to the company project because I have changed the cross filter direction to both only for this table and not for this relationship. So now let's try. So if I select something here, you see it's only affecting this table. But if I change this here, it's affecting this table because if I go back to the relationship here, so look at the relation cross filtering direction. So if I apply filter here, it'll first flow to the fact table, and from fact table, it'll go back to this table, that is company employee, because for this I have set cross filter direction to both. So now let's change this to both and see the magic. So now if I do any filtering in any of these table, it will flow from this table to the fact, that is project task, and then go back to the company project. Same the other way. If I select something here, company project, it will flow to the fact and then it will go to the company employee. Let's check it out. So now what I'll do is I'll select here, let's say David. So as you can see, it's flowing from the employee table to the fact and then cross filtering this table, that is project, company project. Same thing here. If I select orange, it's first flowing to the fact and then going back to the employee table. So this is how cross filter direction works in Power BI. I hope this video was helpful. And if you have any doubts or questions related to cardinality or cross filter direction or building any relationship between tables, please drop me a note in the comment section and I'm going to revert back to you. And thanks for watching.